The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 149 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. Everything I learned about people, I learned from Thomas Haggis. You're muted, Tom.
Hey, so I'm first. That makes me the hat. The rest of you are shoes.
Very nice.
You belong on the feet.
Second, writer, actor, and director Kyle. I didn't stock this shit for years just to get high. Fine.
You know, I got a bone to pick with Snowpiercer. That guy acted really grossed out when he found out he'd been eating cock for years. Cockroaches. And I'd never reacted like that.
About cockroaches? Or cock?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever you say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Third, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions. Is this like a sex thing? Roll, Walt.
Chronal.
Oh, Gabe's having a stroke again. Someone call an ambulance.
I need my chronal.
Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios. Andrew, what does steak taste like again? I had it once, but I can't remember. Zimwalt.
I just want to get through the gate. That gate.
All right. Oh, let's poke the monkey. Find out what we're discussing this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, quiet car readers and protein bar eaters, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two train-bound tails race down the rails to finish first. Which has enough steam to make it to the end, and which will be derailed and defeated. In the first quarter from 2022, written by Zach Olkowitz and Kotaro Isaka, directed by David Leitch, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Joel King, and Brad Pitt. Bullet Train! In the second corner from 2013, written by Jacques Lowe, Benjamin Legrand, The Set, directed by Bong Joon-ho, starring Ed Harris, Tilda Swinton, and Chris Evans. Snowpiercer!
One of these movies for me was a giant surprise. Like, I absolutely loved it when I watched it. And the other one I had been just putting off not watching. Like, I did not want to watch it at all. And then it came up in an episode of the podcast. So I watched it and I enjoyed it. I really did. So enough of me yammering. Oh, Tom, you're on mute again.
How long have you been putting off watching it?
Years. Like
1 year or 10 years?
10 years. So that should tell you right there.
There you go.
I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't want to watch it. I think it was the person that told me that I needed to see it. And I'm like, well, no, because no, I'm not going to see that.
I have so many movies where I want to have 2 hours uninterrupted. I don't want to watch it in pieces. I want to have this movie deserves my full attention. And this was one of them. And there must be 80 movies that I have listed like that where,
oh, you need a certain block of time to be able to watch it all the way
I just
through.
need to know that I'm not going to get interrupted or anything else. And it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. All right, let's move on to our first round. Writing.
I guess we can start with, I don't know which one to start with. Let's start with Bullet Train. And I don't know. Do you guys know? I didn't do my proper research. Is this based on any other material, or is this an original piece?
It is based on something, and I have it for trivia.
Yeah. Okay. I felt, at least from the screenwriting, I'm not familiar with the original piece, obviously, so I can't really speak to it. But I feel from a screenwriting standpoint, it was very fast paced, which was good. I thought some of the character development was really good because a lot of the characters had these quirks, these quirky things about them, their behaviors that really made them kind of unique, individual, and even kind of likable, even though they were, basically all killers and trying to kill each other and everything. And so, I really liked the unique characteristics they gave to the characters. Although I felt like the plot was a little bit, it just felt jumbled to me. And maybe it was supposed to be because of the nature of what was going on. There was a lot of confusion as to what's going on, but it just didn't feel like it felt very jumbled. And there were times where I had kind of mixed feelings, like where what was the name of the Russian dude, Mr. Death. There's a point where Mr. Death kind of explains to you why everybody's all together. And you're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense why all these people are on the train. But it also feels kind of like forced. Like you can't figure it out until he tells you all of these things. And as a viewer, I sometimes want to be able to kind of try to figure it out on my own. Although I did figure out that was his daughter pretty much right away. Especially when she spit on his son. But I felt like some of the plotting was a little bit hectic and disjointed. It was fun. The dialogue was fun. So I think overall the writing was pretty good on Bullet Train. I know that Snowpiercer is based on other materials. I believe a graphic novel, and but I'm not sure I enjoyed the writing on that as well. I didn't think the dialogue was as well written, and I also felt like it was very disjointed. And there were weird things that happened, and I don't know if this falls under the writing or not, but like where they would go and they'd be fighting, and then somebody would say, wait, stop. And then everybody would just stop killing each other for a little while. And they're like, okay, back at it. Let's go again. We're going to go into a tunnel. Okay, kill each other again. And I just felt like there were weird moments. It was an interesting concept. Conceptually, it was interesting, but I think the the actual writing wasn't really all that compelling to me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think, when you have a movie that is so heavily allegorical, and is obviously about this train, but is very much about class warfare and society and, distraction. And I mean, there's so much to it, right? That's like an allegory for real. Sometimes the actual plot and the actual story you're watching can suffer because it gets a little heavy-handed. I think that at times the writing wasn't particularly strong in either movie. There was a lot of convenient stuff that happened, and like you said, the twist at the end of Bullet Train, where it's like, oh, this is some grand plan for the White Death to get all his enemies and problems it kind of falls apart under scrutiny, because there's a lot of bad things that could have happened that really would have ruined that plan for him, and almost happened. So for someone who's so controlled and has the everything under control in that way, it's not really a very good plan. It's just a very interesting, what they tried to be a very interesting twist in the movie. That's for Bullet Train. For Snowpiercer, yeah. So again, very allegorical and not, the writing of it felt very much like someone loves old Guy Pearce films, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and whatever the one that Jason Statham became famous. Guy Ritchie movies.
Snatch.
Snatched, yes.
Snatch.
Like there's definitely some moments between Aaron Taylor Johnson and I think it's Brian. I want to say it's Tyree. I haven't looked it up. Sorry. That are really, like almost stolen. You feel like someone should be getting sued for this because it's so close. And also, it's really interesting to see two like American actors put on British accents. And they're almost, I don't know, do they veer into Dick Van Dyke Cockney level jokey sometimes? Like they're sometimes they're pretty good, and sometimes they're almost like, over the top. But yeah, I mean, the idea of a train lends itself very well to a linear story, right? Because you can go from back to front, from car to car, from, thing to thing, and there's a lot of that, especially in Snowpiercer. So I think it's a cool structure for it. I just think there are some misses on things, and I think the twist comes too late and is too much to kind of believe, and it just feels kind of forced in a little bit on both movies. Also, I think in Bullet Train, it has the problem of being like a comedy machine gun. So sometimes its jokes just go wide. Sometimes they land and they're really great. And then other times they're trying too much, too fast, and they're just plain missing.
You took mine. Go ahead,
Took
Tom.
your what?
Well, he was saying that it was very linear, so.
What, Snowpiercer?
Well, both of them, for the fact that it's a linear story because you have a train, but Snowpiercer is very specific in getting into that, your linear action is happening as you travel, not only through, in a sense, communities and societies, but, each train car is a different, almost genre of community as you move through, as you get further up, and it lends that story to be very linear. But with Bullet Train, you're still kind of in that, kind of our one big murder mystery kind of situation where you have this area that the players play in, and they have this entire back and forth while you're on this train, and that ends up being your stage, and it brings all that action, whether it's good or bad or random, and the jokes, and they all happen in different spots that all conglomerate at the end, which is very that murder mystery type genre that we've talked about many times before. And I found that to be interesting, how that was arranged by being on that train. So sorry, Tom.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And Bong Joon-ho, he Parasite is like the next level after Snowpiercer. It's but rather than moving forward in a train and it being like a left to right movement as you move up out of lower class and into upper class, he does the same thing in Parasite, where there's basements and sub basements and floors and upper floors where and it's a power play, and he really likes that, using set design and composition and story to underline those themes. And so I was looking forward to Snowpiercer because I knew that was something that he was probably going to be using in it. And I thought it was incredible. I really liked, I liked everything about it. I felt it moved very quickly, and I have really kind of grasped the idea of just letting a movie tell its story and not try to get ahead of it, and I don't want to try and figure out the twist. They're like, just tell me the story. If someone's telling me a story in person, I'm not going to jump in and be like, oh yeah, and then the dog bit you, right? That'd be hilarious. Just let the guy tell their story. And I'm enjoying movies on a much bigger level when I turn that part of my brain off and work on the criticism of the film itself. And so the same as with Bullet Train. I thought I thought it was very witty and hilarious, and I love all of the plot twists in it, and they just kind of come at you, and the comedic timing of everybody in the movie was great. I love the cameos too. But as far as the story is concerned, it is interesting because my wife, I told my wife the 2 movies we're doing, and she said, you couldn't pick 2 more different movies. Like thematically, one's more dramatic and one's more comedic. I was like, hey, they're 2 violent train movies. That's what we're going for. But I think there's a lot more that ties these 2 together. And I think it's interesting that, one story is very point A to point B, and Bullet Train is just all over the place, and multiple storylines crisscrossing and people's motivations and everything else. And if Bullet Train had a flaw, it does seem like it goes on a little bit too long. And David Leitch kind of does that in his movies, that they seem like there's 2 or 3 different points where it could end, but it just kind of keeps going. But in terms of the pretzel structure of Bullet Train versus the railroad track structure of Snowpiercer, I think they both achieve their goals really, really well.
It's really funny because we talk about the setting as a narrative device, and I think both these movies use it perfectly, because Snowpiercer is so linear because you literally can't get off the tracks, and this is the only way is forward, right? There's constant forward eternal momentum, so the only way is from the back to the front. And Bullet Train, things change at every stop. So every time they have to stop, the deck gets shuffled, things get moved around, and a new piece of the story starts. So I think they took the settings of the trains and they both used them incredibly well in different ways. Snowpiercer, I would consider almost a masterclass in using your one setting as a narrative device. It is just superb. Like, it's you talk about things like bottle episodes, right? Like sometimes everything will take place in one building or one store or whatever, and they know that 99.9% of the movie is going to take place on the train, and they absolutely milk that to its best ability, and it adds to the story.
Yeah, it really kind of reminds me, I guess my comparison right off the bat would be Bullet Train is like watching a Muppet movie, and Snowpiercer is like watching this heavy apocalyptic, all of humanity sucks and there are people still left, and there's this seriousness, and then you have this Muppet movie magic, and they're kind of combining with a common thread of a train and action. But they both tell a very compelling story, and they both deliver telling that story with just not just dialogue, but all of the story that comes with the background. They don't do a lot of like exposition of, I'm going to tell you all this cool stuff that happened here, and then do like, they're really good. I mean, you know, even Bullet Train, they do their flashbacks to bring you back to the story, to know where you are. You know, in Snowpiercer, you know what's going on. You know how we got to this point, and as you move your way through the cars, you actually learn more and more about the story and about the world and about the people. And it is a progression, like we've said, with the linearity of that story. And I thought that was kind of cool. I will say, you know, I'm going to go ahead and dunk on the core again, because that movie's horrible and it has a train in it. But
how dare you?
We talked in the yeah. So 12 years ago, we talked about on the podcast about putting the train cars in a certain order, so that when they get blown up, the most important car doesn't get lost right away. I love in Snowpiercer how the order of the cars and how much thought was put into it. And putting that water car in the center of the train so that you feel like that's the goal, and then shifting the goalpost when he gets there by, oh, right, we need to take on water if we're going to do this, I thought was absolutely genius. So
yes,
it was really, really well done.
All right. We are officially out of time, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and vote. Gabe.
I'm going to go with Bullet Train.
All right. Kyle.
I am going to go with Snowpiercer.
Okay. Tom.
Snowpiercer.
And Andrew.
I am also going with Snowpiercer.
Oh, all right. Bong Joon-ho says he got the idea for Snowpiercer from a 1970s nuclear-powered submarine. The train and nuclear-powered submarine in the 1970s had a similar average speed of 50 kilometers or 31 miles per hour. Bullet train.
What is that is that a bullet train at 33 miles an hour?
Well, it's for Snowpiercer.
Well, yeah, but that still doesn't seem like it'd be fast enough. Anyway,
you just got to keep going, right? That's the whole point. Bullet Train is based on the Japanese novel Maria Beetle by Kotaro Isaka, which was first published in 2010. The visibility from the film production led to Harvel Secker's acquisition of the novel's English publishing rights, bringing Isaka's work to English for the first time. There you go.
Wow. All right.
Let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Yes, my strong point. Oh boy, there's a lot of acting in these movies that's worth talking about. I'll start with Snowpiercer, where I think a lot of the characters are pretty well done, and they only have a few main characters that they focus on. They don't really get into the like, you feel like the train is very populated, but there are only so many main characters that you focus on, and I think that is to the movie's benefit. Because some of the other actors, you know, I can't say that they're good or bad, but you have some very talented actors and you lean on them really well, and that's great. Chris Evans is just a good actor. in general. I think that's established by now. I'm not saying anything revolutionary here. Yeah, and some of the other actors are great. Michael Shannon I love because he's just so awkward in Bullet Train. I think he's just a really fun actor, and I like him a lot. But for Snowpiercer, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. Jeez, my ADD is really bad today. Yeah, Snowpiercer. I mean, you get some super talented people in this kind of. Don't want to say indie, but like, it's not like a huge blockbuster movie. You get John Hurt, Ed Harris. You get these crazy talented actors. Tilda Swinton especially is awesome in this movie. I just love her. I think she's so interesting, and I love when she does really super weird stuff like this, which seems to be most of the time. So I'm a big fan of that. And then Bullet Train is a who's who of actors. I mean, it's incredible the amount of people who show up in the movie, even for tiny, small cameos. This is one of the big benefits of casting Brad Pitt in your movie, is that he knows everybody and everyone will come out for a day and have fun. And it adds a lot to the movie. Like, I think it's a blast. Like, these kind of movies, I don't want to say they don't get made anymore, but they're more rare now. And so it was really cool to see. It was really cool to just see all the surprises. You don't get that in movies a lot anymore. And I really dug that. So I think the acting in both of these movies is good. Brad Pitt gives a really great performance and proves that he's got serious comedic chops, which, I mean, I kind of knew, and I think people who've paid attention to his career know that he's a super funny guy. But this is one of his funniest. The only thing I would say is Bullet Train suffers from just too much sometimes. There are too many characters. There are too many stories. There's a wide variety in how interesting they are, I think. So maybe it would have done well to have maybe a smaller cast. But I do love all the cameos, and it was super fun to see people pop up and just play and have fun in the movie.
It's the Muppet Show. I'm telling you. There are just all these different people. There are all these different actors, and it's just like the Muppet movie. You would sit there and you knew your main characters, your Kermit and Fozzie, but your goal was to see all of these people that would, like you said, would knew Brad Pitt and would just show up for a day, have a blast, and do crazy stuff and do it well, and they would get their paycheck and go home, and it added this fun little moment in the movie. And it's super fantastic. I can't even begin to fathom sitting down with all of these different actors and being like, okay, your role is going to be this goofy person. Your role is going to be the serious, but then here you become goofy, and then you do this, and then you're like, everybody has like these different little things, and then they put them all together and said, this is going to be amazing. And it was almost like just throwing the fruit bowl, mixing everybody in, and getting this amazing fruit salad that was super fun to watch. It was entertaining. These people can actually, it's not just like they threw a bunch of nobodies into Bullet Train that, are trying to get off their feet. They had a blast, and they did a good job doing it. And I think that's what made the characters somewhat interesting, regardless if they were just the one, 10-second guy in the background kind of thing. With Snowpiercer, Kyle, I think you hit all of them. Tilda is freaking amazing. Her character in this movie is so bizarre, and she does such a good job at it. Chris Evans, what more is to say? Octavia Spencer, there in the back, always a fantastic actress. I would say that, the only negative I really had about the acting in Snowpiercer was it wasn't anything that I was like, wow, this they nailed everything. Like, it wasn't that powerful. They played their characters very well. and they did a very good job at it. But it wasn't anything I'd write home to mom about because it felt very, there are a lot of people that have played these type of roles before, but they did them well. So I don't know. I like the fruit bowl because it was just a goof of people. Sorry.
I thought Song Kang-ho, who plays Nan-gung, the guy they break out to help them open the doors in Snowpiercer, I think he might have given the best performance. He just had this he reminded me almost of Benicio del Toro in Last Jedi, where he's your code breaker to kind of get you through, but you're like, wow, I can't take my eyes off of him, and I shouldn't take my eyes off of him.
Right.
And so I thought his performance was great, and Jamie Bell was really great in this too, and it was to the point where I was incredibly disappointed when he died. It was just like he's doing so well, you can't kill him off, please don't.
It really makes you feel for him. You really do become invested in him.
Yeah, and then you get his backstory at the end, and it crushes you all over again. And I agree. Everybody in Bullet Train is great, and I know it's not this way, but I just feel like Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds and Channing Tatum are just like friends who hang out all the time. I'm sure that's not how it is, but they have such great chemistry, and they always seem like such nice people off screen that it just, like, would you come and be in this movie for 5 minutes? Like, yeah, of course I would. And Channing Tatum he's just redefining what it means to be a cameo. He pops up everywhere. So wasn't he he was in the last bout we did too, wasn't he?
He was.
What? So
no, 2 bouts ago.
Yeah,
Right,
but
yeah, which one was it? Yeah.
Free Guy. So are we trying to point out that Brad Pitt has a group of people that he can bring pretty much anywhere to act, and so he's similar to an Adam Sandler, who I can just bring all my friends. We can make a great movie. Doesn't matter if you're in it for 5 minutes or not.
Yeah, and I feel like they can all do that for each other. Because how many times
Yeah.
have these guys shown up in like Ryan Reynolds movies?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I think they
A
all
bunch of these
pay
guys
each
were
other
in-
back these favors, right? They're all like,
Yeah.
we're all in this together.
Right. Brad Pitt was like, hey, Ryan, if you're in Bullet Train, I'll be in Deadpool 2 for a minute. You know?
Right, exactly.
So, and I thought Bad Bunny was great. I didn't expect a whole lot, but his character was great.
Yeah.
But,
Very
the 10 minutes he
surprising.
was on. Yeah. Just, they are just, when I'm watching this movie, it looks like they just had the time of their lives. And the fact that they were able to get out an entertaining story and really great fight sequences. Again, like the Oscars, why don't we have fight choreography like
For
Oscar?
sure.
This would, I mean,
Yes.
that's all fighting is dancing, a violent dance anyway. Just do a dance / fight choreography Oscar. By God, it'd be fucking amazing. People would watch, but
Go
anyway,
back in
I think-
time and give the Raid one, from
Yeah.
posthumously. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's such a skill that adds so much to a movie.
Yeah, and it is just the fight between Brad Pitt and Bad Bunny is, God. I mean, it's so much. It's so fun, and it just feels real. So I don't know, but there is also a sense of this like Looney Tunes level violence, this itchy and scratchy level violence in Bullet Train that, it is a really good crew of actors that they have.
It kind of reminded me, and I may be way off here, but it kind of reminded me of Kill Bill, where it's like some hyper violence. Everywhere you turn, you see an actor you recognize. Sometimes it's funny, it's surprising, crazy things happen. The fight choreography is good. It just kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, I mean, it's these movies. Chris Evans' speech at the end. I remember this is my second time watching Snowpiercer, and the first time I watched it, I did not like it. And I think maybe I just wasn't in the mood, or I didn't get it. Watching it again this time, I liked it infinitely more. And his speech at the end is so heartbreaking. And then to have that go from him talking to Ed Harris is like, it's such a crazy change, and you get all the plot twists and stuff, and it's well done. It's really cool.
Yeah, Ed Harris is great in it too, playing basically his character from Truman Show on a train.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I think the cast in Bullet Train, they had a lot of fun. They were really good at the comedic stuff, but they also at times were able to turn on the gravitas. Is that another French word? Am I turning French?
I believe that might be Latin.
Is that Latin?
Yeah,
you might be right. All right. Anyway.
The famous Latin greeting. Ho, ho, ho.
So, but they could actually kind of make you feel for their characters too. There were times, they're all kind of goofy, they're all kind of violent, they're all kind of, in many ways, a lot of them were kind of like bumbling, in certain ways. But there were times when you actually kind of felt for their characters, where there was some actual, emotion related to that. And so to be able to pull that off and be able to do all of those things all at once is pretty amazing. And I think that made it a fun and engaging film. With Snowpiercer, the acting is really excellent. I didn't really have any trouble with any of the acting in it by any means. There were other things that we'll get into in other rounds that I don't, and I might be like Kyle. It's like I don't know if I really fully understood it the first time through. I might need another viewing to get it. But the acting was not one of the things that I questioned. It was all very strong. Chris Evans is definitely a good actor, but he was surrounded by a lot of other great actors. Ed Harris is always good. I'm not sure it was his most compelling, but I don't think it was because of his acting. I think it was the writing. But Ed Harris is always engaging. There's just something about him, his voice or his presence on screen that's always engaging.
He has that French word, gravitas.
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 Yes.
French for the gravity of things.
Yes.
Have we ever seen Ed Harris give a bad performance? Can anybody think of one?
Oh,
I thought he sucked in Apollo 13.
What?
No, I'm kidding. The first one I could think. It's funny because his voice is very much. You hear it and you're like, oh, this is somebody that could take care of us. We can trust this guy.
Right.
We can trust the man with his voice. But then when you start listening to the words, you're like, he's fucking psychotic. He's a control freak.
Yeah.
Ed Harris is great at that.
He is very good at that. Like even in The Rock, right? Like the very stalwart general trying to do good, but also a little bit crazy because he's got these missiles. Yeah, he does that very well.
All I know
Yeah,
is
I think of Westworld.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Where
yeah,
he's like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Harris is a guy who believes he's doing the right thing, and he makes you believe it,
Correct.
or that he thinks he's doing.
Well, you
the
shouldn't
right
let him
thing.
talk. So it's true. Don't let
Right,
him
you
talk.
should.
Right.
Cut his
That's a
tongue
great.
out.
Don't let him talk. They were absolutely right.
All right.
But he let him talk.
Time's up.
Well, all I was going to say was if Chris Evans would have had his shield with him, he would have taken down that entire train car
That's true.
of ninjas.
Yes.
And
He
that
did
would have
pretty
just
good. He did pretty good
That
about
is
it.
that is
he
America's
did,
ass.
But I'm just pointing out that
And
No
can we
one
give
looks-
props to Chris Evans for being in this movie after 2 Captain America movies? Like he was firmly. He didn't have to do any artsy, lower budget movies, but he just threw himself out there because he believed in the project. And I love seeing him in stuff like this and
He
Knives
actually
Out.
contacted Bong Joon-ho. He personally contacted him and wanted to try out for the part.
Both these
Nice.
movies are great examples of people buying into a project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of these.
That's
yes.
true. Yeah.
Which is rare in
well
Hollywood
put, Kyle.
these days.
Well put. All right.
It's very rare in Hollywood these days.
Real quick before we put it to a vote, Gabe, I don't know if you know this, but I have listened to a lot of podcasts about Rome, and there was actually a Caesar. He's lesser known Caesar, who is Caesar. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That was a long way to go. Wow.
Yeah, that was a long walk.
Le poisson.
Long walk.
Le poisson.
Just to go off a ledge.
That's right. Those are my favorite walks.
That is the worst joke that Mel Brooks cut out of History of the World Part 1. And you just did it.
Oh my God.
We can cut that part out, right?
No, we're leaving that part.
Wow.
All right, let's put it to vote. Kyle.
I'm going to go with Bullet Train on this one.
All right. Tom.
Snowpiercer.
Andrew.
Bullet Train.
And Gabe.
Bullet Train for me again.
All right. Whew, okay. I've had to do a lot of looking up how to pronounce words for some of this trivia. Brad Pitt's
Are
character.
they French?
Caesar.
I can help you.
Brad Pitt's character in Bullet Train says that he never forgets a face, but struggles to remember who the wolf is. In real life, Pitt has prosopagnosia, a condition that impairs the ability to recognize familiar faces, including one's own face. He has said in interviews that just as his character does, he needs to remember the context and the situation in which he has met someone in order to remember who that person is.
So that's why he doesn't remember me.
Yes, that could be.
Dude, that is the saddest thing in the world. Brad
Isn't it?
Pitt looks in the mirror and doesn't remember he's Brad Pitt.
Right.
Oh, that's so sad.
That would be an exciting moment walking down the
I'm
street.
Brad Pitt.
Don't remember.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? I never knew that about him until I read that, and I'm like, what? This has got to be... This has got to be bullshit.
Yeah, I've heard of things like face blindness. People
Yes.
have trouble recognizing people.
Yes.
So
They can't remember or can't differentiate between people.
that's got to be tough for him with all of those adopted children. Whew.
All right.
Yeah, some ones have definitely
A lot of
snuck in.
faces.
He's been like,
Yeah,
hey,
there's a lot of
yeah, you're
kids.
my kid.
He has like
I
30,
recognize you.
30 people that say they're his kid.
You're like 30. It's all right.
all right.
I've been here a while.
Mason in Snowpiercer was originally a male character and described as a peaceful one in the original script. This changed when Tilda Swinton was cast. The part was originally written for John C. Reilly.
Interesting.
I think they dodged a bullet with that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly's pretty good, but I agree. Tilda Swinton is fantastic in that
Yeah,
role.
I mean,
Only if he's
her-
Steve Brule. If he acts like Steve Brule
His-
while he's giving those speeches, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, Tilda Swinton definitely devised a character correctly
Yes.
for that role. But I could see John C. Reilly making this weird, crazy, kind of over-the-top guy at the same time.
Yep.
It would have been different, but I like Tilda's performance so much.
Yeah, she was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Third round. Directing. Oh.
I like both these directors, and I feel like I haven't seen enough of Bong. Sorry, I lost my page. Bong Joon-ho's. I haven't seen enough of his movies. I've seen Parasite, but those are the movies that I kind of just have that I need to sit down and watch sometime. David Leitch's movies are always a lot easier to watch. His movies have that frenetic comedy that you get in movies, like Deadpool and Atomic Blonde and John Wick. That he might be the best action director that we have right now. With that said, I think the other thing that he's able to do is, I don't know, tell a story in a way that brings in a lot of characters. I didn't feel that there were too many characters in Bullet Train. I think the number of characters that they have, it just kind of adds to the chaos and the complexity of the story. And I'm really okay with that. So I thought that was pretty good. I think with his fight scenes are absolutely incredible. Again, going back to John Wick when he first started directing, and it is almost an art the way he's able to just move people around and all of the. I would have trouble finding new ways for people to kill each other after like my second movie, but he just keeps coming up with it. Bong Joon-ho, I think his strength obviously is in telling stories in a way and using all of the different aspects of film that he really uses everything at his disposal, like I mentioned before, like the composition and the setting where his stories take place, and the actors, and just being able to use everything to help undermine the story, like support the story, but not in a way that like gives anything away and makes it too predictable. It would be really easy for him to give the story away by using all of those different parts of filmmaking. But both of them are just so much fun to watch, and they're definitely directors that I look for when they have more stuff coming out. So what do you guys think? Are you guys still there?
We're here.
You're all
okay.
I was just struggling to get to the mute button.
Yep.
Both of these are very competently directed. And when Bullet Train started, Jill watched that one with me. I didn't. I thought that was one that she might enjoy, because of the actors in it and that kind of thing. I thought she might enjoy it, and she did. She thought it was. She's like, it was crazy, but it was fun. And but the first thing I said to her when it started, I said, the lighting in this is going to be really cool because it's by one of the guys who did John Wick, and the lighting in the John Wick films is really cool. And it's very similar. I mean, it's along the same lines, all the very strong colors, and that kind of thing. And then, like you mentioned, Tom, the fight sequences are really well done. And the cool thing is to be able to, I think that the key is to be able to have the chaos but still understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And not lose where you are. There's so many fight scenes I've seen where it's like, an unsteady camera and this really quick editing, and you don't really, something's happening, and sometimes you get an idea that, one person or the other is winning or losing, but you don't really get an idea what's going on. But in Bullet Train, you always know what's going on.
Marvel movies.
Well, yeah, it could be. Sometimes there's just too much going on, too much chaos. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes maybe it's supposed to be confusing. But here, we're really kind of in a way rooting for one character or the other. So we want to know where they stand in this fight, And he does a really good job of maintaining, that kind of, for lack of a better term, I guess, continuity. We always know what's happening. And it is fun. Crazy ways to die, like Tom said, like the one where, I don't know, I think it was Lemon lifted up a guy up through a window in the train, and he got cut in half.
That's a great one.
I was like, I literally I was literally out loud like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming, But so, a lot of that stuff is really fun and really well done. And then and I think this applies to both films, you really need to think about how hard that would be to do in a setting that's supposed to be a train. How do you do that anywhere? But even more so, how do you do that in a confined space like a train? And obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of tricks that they used, to get the angles they needed and that kind of thing. But it's what, like, you never feel like you're not in the train when it's happening. And I felt like Snowpiercer was. I think I don't know if you said this when we were on mic, Tom, but you said your wife was like, you couldn't have picked two more thematically different films, and that's very true. They're very different from a kind of tone and theme kind of standpoint, but also I think from a cinematography standpoint too, because like I said, Bullet Train is very bright and colorful, but Snowpiercer is very dark and dreary and moody in most spots. There are times when they go to the front of the train, and then that changes as they move to the front. It becomes more and more colorful, which somehow helps indicate their status and that kind of thing as they move forward in the train. But the cinematography is very beautiful in Snowpiercer as well, even when it's dark and dreary and that kind of thing. It's always very beautiful. The editing is also very well done. I think that's one where, though, and it was probably intentional, in some instances, the fight scenes, it was hard to tell what was going on. We didn't know who was winning or who was losing or whatever until it kind of got over. And like I said, I think that was maybe intentional, like when they go through the tunnel and it's dark and you just get these flashes of violence, and you don't know exactly who's killing who or what's happening, So it was very different in that standpoint, but nevertheless, still very well done. And so I think, I don't know, my opinion is that both of these are very competently directed. It's going to be a hard choice in this category.
Yeah, I think I don't want to repeat a lot of what you guys said with that, Gabe, but that's Bullet Train is this bright, magical, non-stop paced, crazy whack, and they do such a nice job at lighting it and bringing those saturations of colors and stuff out to really bring, I guess, that goofiness, almost that fun. I think Tom earlier said the Looney Tune-ish kind of moments into it. And Snowpiercer, just because of the topic, is much more apocalyptic and thematic in that sense. The one thing I was just gonna only say is that with Snowpiercer, I thought the interesting part of the directing was starting at the back of the train was very dark, very dingy. There was a lot of over contrast, low saturation. And as you did move through the train, it does slowly brighten up. There's, I would assume, more and more colors are added as you get brighter and brighter throughout. And then you get to that midway point, and you kind of have this bell curve, because it has all, they go through the classroom, and it's all bright and pretty and happy. And then you get to the center, and it has this ominous like glow. And then you work your way back down and then back up again as they go through the last couple of cars up to the front. And then when they hit the front, it's this almost ethereal area, this, very simple, very monochromatic, stagnant kind of front. And then this is the one thing that I thought was very fascinating, and you got to lead that to the cinematographer, is at the very end, once they step off the train, the entire color LUT basically was removed, and you have this glorious new world that they're stepping out into. It's bright, it's sunny, there's snow, the sky, everything is just realistically what you would expect from a beautiful winter's day kind of thing. And so I found that interesting, that you had this dark, dingy, working your way up to all this oversaturation and contrast and craziness that went on. And as soon as they get out, it's this bright, beautiful, glorious shots of the world. And I thought that was really, really fascinating and an amazing choice for the cinematographer. And I will say that my favorite fight scene in Snowpiercer is when they turn all the lights off and they show Tilda Swinton holding that gun with the night vision, and she just has this creepy bug-eyed look with this weird smile of like, kill them all, and it's glorious. It is absolutely glorious. I love that scene.
Yeah, when she said she's like a really long fucking tunnel, it's like, oh
yes.
God. It's so good.
So good. It's so good.
You know, the one thing I want to say too is, you know, Snowpiercer, you know, we said over and over, they move from the back to the front. One of the things that the David Leitch and I assume the writers had to figure out too in Bullet Train is all of these people moving around a train. It's really hard to move past somebody on a train and not notice them. So, I mean, not only they had to formulate the story and move people around the train throughout the movie in a way that you're like, no, wait, they're like in the third car and they can't get to the fifth car because so-and-so's in the fourth car. And it's a really it just makes my head swim when I would like start to figure that out. So, and I didn't know this, but David Leitch was Brad Pitt's stunt double for 5 different movies.
I have those movies.
So do you think that
I've got it for trivia? Sorry.
Oh,
did I just ruin that?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
You didn't name
yeah,
movies.
he's a former stuntman. All right.
I all I ever think of is in a confined space, similar to, you know, like a train or something. Is where's the camera? Where are all the lights? You know, what are the clever ways that you're thinking of building sets or just areas so it still feels confined, and yet there's still a camera there. There's still boom mic operators. There's still, you know, lighting techs and all, you know, your gaffers and everything else going on. How do you still make that feel that you're in this train? That to me is where that imagination of those people to be able to figure that out is so fascinating. What's the neat things they come up with.
Here's something I want you guys to think about. And after watching it a second time, I'm like, oh, holy cow, the train is not, you know, most movies, especially if you have a scene in a train, the train rocks back and forth like side to side, you know, to show movement. In Bullet Train, there is none of that because the trains are so smooth. In Japan, they didn't even want to hint to that as a dramatic license because they did not want to upset the fact that their trains are so nice over there. Like I read a piece of trivia. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not crazy because I'm like, well, the cars aren't even moving, but they wouldn't move. That's a high speed. And so, yeah, they didn't even jostle the cars during the film at all.
It's just so fast.
Yeah.
On the other hand, too, on Bullet Train, this was something I found out that the train from Tokyo to Kyoto is actually only 2 hours because it's a bullet train. It's really fast. But they had to restructure it because they didn't think American audiences would be able to like conceive of a story that takes place in 2 hours.
Isn't that crazy?
They had to make it go from like 10 p.m. till sunrise the next day, you know, to be able to underline the story and the themes of it.
Right.
But they were like, yeah, American audiences wouldn't accept that you can get from point A to point B in 2 hours like that. So, but it would have been, it could have been a really cool, like real time story.
Right.
But, I mean, I get the point of wanting to, you know, show up in Kyoto at dawn.
And if I remember right,
have all the flashbacks and stuff.
They shot most of it during the pandemic, and it was all shot on green screen. Like, I mean, green, you know, a green screen studio with the train cars and stuff, but most of it was all shot green screen. I think it was like
most of it's really well done too.
It was. All right, if you guys are done with directing, let's.
Did you want to let Kyle talk at all?
Oh, sorry,
Did Kyle talk at all?
No, I'm not even interested. I don't care.
Sorry, Kyle. Go ahead, man.
This is my category. It reflects badly on me if you don't say anything.
Okay. I'll make it brief, which I never do. Bullet Train is an excellently directed, fun action movie, and that takes some skill to balance those things. It's great. It's a heist movie as well, and a caper movie, and a mystery movie, and it all interweaves really well together. And you know how much I love preaching on tone and keeping a consistent tone. In this movie, for as wacky as it gets, it has a very consistent tone to it, which I like. It feels like Bullet Train the whole way through, even when crazy shit happens. And I love that. That's a skill. That's absolutely a skill that directors have, to keep you engaged and not make you think about other things than their movie going on. I think that's great. Snowpiercer, yeah, it's, again, a masterclass in using some aspects of filmmaking to your advantage. Claustrophobia, lighting, your set. It goes from having one set, and instead of that being a hindrance, it turns into a strength of the film, which is very impressive. You have to shoot around that, and the logistics of that are crazy. I give both directors huge props for doing that. This can't be easy to be like, yeah, every shot is going to take place in a claustrophobic area where we have to figure out blocking, lighting, movement, dialogue, audio, everything, right? So that's not easy, right? It's a lot easier to do it in big open spaces and just ADR stuff in or whatever. So I give him credit for that. It's really ambitious, and I like that. Both these movies are really well directed, and yeah, these directors have some great films. I would say John Wick and the ensuing franchises are the action movies of the 2000s. Like they're, and this is the guy who kicked them off. And of course, what went on with the director of Snowpiercer directing Parasite, which is a masterpiece in my opinion. So yeah, great directors doing a great job. And when you notice how good the directing is in a movie where you have Brad Pitt, Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, all these other people, and you go, oh man, this is really well done. You're not starstruck by the actors. You're actually like, this is a really cool movie. Like, it doesn't just rest on the laurels of that. That's really cool. I really like that. So I think that's a testament to how good it is.
I think that's why you compared it to Kill Bill when you did, because when you're watching Kill Bill, you're not starstruck. You're in that story, and you're,
it doesn't feel out of place that these people show up, even when they're weird.
Right.
Like it's earned this, it's earned your trust in being goofy. And it's like, we'll take care of you. Things will make sense. Don't get confused. Just enjoy the ride. And that is, that's a skill. That's a skill to get people invested and to not lose them when you're doing stuff like that. So I love when a director pulls that off. People like Edgar Wright, Quentin Tarantino, directors like that. They're perfect at that. No matter how weird the stuff gets, it still feels like you're in that movie. It never takes away or detracts from that. And that's just, it's great. And it's really rare because a lot of movies suffer from either like genre whiplash or huge swings in tone that really make you realize you're watching a movie. And that is so detrimental to me.
Right. No, that's a good point. And I had to step away for a couple moments, but I don't know if you guys said this, but I wanted to point out that Bong Joon-ho is using sci-fi / horror for what it's for, and for what I believe the genre is really good at, and that is something that the Twilight Zone did and like the original Star Trek series did, which is to have a problem that we are facing currently or a social issue and use that in the film without, I mean, a lot of it is there in Snowpiercer, but in a way to make you think about that without just hitting you over the head. And granted, there's this whole thing about global warming at the beginning, but it's also about the class, right? It's about the haves and the have-nots. And I know it's right there front and center, but he does it in a way that isn't just hitting you in the face with an axe. It's, you're actually thinking about these people and what it must be like. So maybe you can have some empathy in real life. And now I'll get off my soapbox. Let's put it to a vote. Tom.
Snowpiercer.
Andrew.
Snowpiercer.
All right. Gabe.
I think I'm going to go Bullet Train again. It's hard. It's tough. I know.
Kyle.
Yeah, it is difficult. I'm also going to go with Bullet Train.
Okay.
Bandwagon.
Director Bong Joon-ho often clashed with producer Harvey Weinstein, who frequently interfered in order to ban his version of the film, and is also a huge sack of shit. I added that last part. Among the many requests, the producer insisted on having the fish scene removed in favor of more action. Bong, who considered it his favorite shot in the film, was adamant to keep it in. He told the producer that he wanted to keep the shot for a personal reason, as a tribute to his late father, who was a fisherman. Upon hearing this, Weinstein, the huge sack of shit, said that family is very important to him, so he granted Bong to keep the shot. And in an interview, the director said, quote, "It was a fucking lie. My father was not a fisherman." End quote.
For him.
Good for him.
Although that is a really weird scene, and I don't know what it is.
Family is important to Weinstein. Okay. Yep.
Well, Mira and Max, it's named after mother and father. Director David Leitch and Brad Pitt had a long working relationship before Bullet Train. As Tom mentioned, Leitch has worked as Pitt's stunt double in multiple films, including Fight Club, Ocean's 11, Troy, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Pitt also made a cameo in Leich's second directorial effort, Deadpool 2.
Did he play both the stunt person for Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I don't know. I wrote that out. Like, I copied it and kind of changed a couple things, and then I read through it, and my mind kept going to our National Film Challenge film, which was Mr. and Mr. Smith. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do it on the podcast.
I mean, of course, he would have been my stunt double because he looks so much like me.
Of course.
It would have been perfect.
Of course.
Like, absolute spot on.
All right.
I look like I ate Brad Pitt.
Kyle. All right. Fourth and final round overall.
Yeah, lots of stuff that we've talked about. So, we've really harped in on the themes, which I think are what make these movies kind of stand out with the two different ideologies that are going on in the films. One is very much a apocalyptic world ending, and the other one is more of a multiple genre murder mystery action comedy fight scene fun movie. And boy, do both of them live up to their name of the fact that they're both on a high speeding train, because both movies, they start off and it just keeps going. They are not slow. They don't add any points where you're like, oh, okay, can we get this story like, it's just let's do this. And they were both very entertaining to watch. Completely different mindsets when you watch them. I think I chose the wrong way the first time I watched them, because I watched Bullet Train first, and it was all like, oh, that was amazing, and then I watched Snowpiercer going, oh, I should have watched these the other way. So so the second time I watched Snowpiercer, when I was going through it again, and then watched Bullet Train, and that was a much better rise than that, because you don't feel so like, oh. So one of the things that we do talk about in overall is music, and I know that'll get some excitement from Gabe because he likes to talk a lot about some of the music. You know, I would say that in Snowpiercer, the music definitely adds some thematicness to it, but it was nothing that stood out to me that said, hey, I need to go pick up all of this and put it on my phone or, you know, and listen to it all the time. But Bullet Train, wow, I don't even want to know what the budget was for the music because it's fun, it's exciting, it's just it belongs in that movie. 100% belongs in that movie. You know, I don't know what more I can say about both films. They're fantastic to watch. Rewatchability is another thing we talk about. I watched both of these movies before we did this, and I would watch them again easily. I know. I hope I don't take trivia away from Mike, but I believe Snowpiercer is a series of books and not just one book. And I would be very interested to see where they went with that, because I don't think it's just one book, because I believe most of the material does come from a book. If somebody corrects me, that's totally fine. But I thought there was multiple books in the series. I know they made a television show about it, or a TV series that was streaming, which it has a similar to it, but I don't think it has the same impact as the movie did, and maybe that's just the shorter content, because with obviously the series you have much more character development, you have to build up to it over episodes, but man, oh man, this overall this is tough, because they're both really solid movies for acting, for directing, everything in between. I don't know if we've maybe we have in the past and I don't remember, but man, these movies are two really good movies that are just as opposite as they are thematically. They ride the rails at the same time together.
To answer your question,
come on, that was good.
Sorry, to answer your question, Andrew, about the books, they were graphic novel series, originally published in 1982 under the very Latin-sounding name Le Transpercene, whatever.
I think that's Swahili, I think.
Close, it's
Le
close.
Transpernegi, I don't know. Nage,
so it was-
Transpernage, maybe.
So it was a graphic novel series and not a book.
That is correct.
Okay,
And from 1982.
Yeah, I
1982.
I knew that it was an older written work, but from the movie coming out. So
Were they writing about global warming back then? 1982. Is the concept the same? I assume it is.
Oh, geez, I just closed. Okay, go. Someone else talk. I'll look it back up again.
yeah,
Okay.
It was an interesting take on that, right? So, like, instead of being, we've screwed up our planet and everything, there's a very strong chance this movie could have been Speed 2 on a boat, you know, if they had gone the traditional global warming way. But they do the, we tried something and it totally screwed up and now everything is frozen. So it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to kind of subvert that a little bit, because usually when you hear like global warming, you're like, okay, we're going to get lots of waves, we're going to get lots of heat, we're going to get lots of melting ice caps, etc., and stuff like that. So,
well, according to the Day After Tomorrow, Kyle,
yes.
everything, you know, will change dramatically and then gets very, very cold and will freeze after we lose everything. So, you know, according to that, it's pretty accurate that they followed that timeline.
It just says here, after an environmental catastrophe induces an ice age. That's all it says.
Yeah.
It's pretty on point though for humans to try and fix the problem and make
it worse,
like 10 times worse.
Yes.
Like it's
Wow.
it's that part was like, yeah, you kind of chuckle, like a nervous chuckle when you found out that's why there was a new ice age, that we did it to ourselves.
Tale as old as time.
These two movies are I don't think I can really go to the old reliable, which one am I going to watch more, the rewatchability, because both of these there's a lot of rewatchability in these two movies. I mean, I'll go back to them often because they're just so entertaining, and there's so much to watch and take in each time you watch it. In their own way, they're both really entertaining. So it's tough. I don't know if you can really judge them by breaking down their elements.
Yeah, I did. Andrew was right. I did want to mention the music really quick because I thought it was pretty fun in Bullet Train when we hear "Staying Alive."
Yes.
And I thought, oh man, it almost seemed kind of cliche a little bit, but then it turned out to be a Japanese cover, and I'm like, actually, that's really cool. That's pretty fun. And then Holding Out for a Hero, the Japanese cover of that was kind of fun too. So I did kind of enjoy that, the music. And then we've been talking a lot about the thematic elements of this and some of the meaning of some of these, especially Snowpiercer. And I have to say, this is the first time I've seen it, and I'm not sure I liked it. But I'm also not sure I fully understood it. I liked it till he got about to the water, about halfway through. I liked it. And then I wasn't quite sure if I liked it after that or not. I thought it was a good twist that he offers. I don't remember the character's name now off the top of my head. Curtis. He offers Curtis the opportunity to take over the train and run the train. That was a twist I didn't see coming. And this may also be on point, Tom, as to what you said before. Then all of a sudden, Namgoon wants to get out the other gate. He wants to go out the other door and go outside. And he's been gathering the chronol to use as an explosive to blow it up. But apparently they had no concept of how much to use to just blow the door off. So they basically, in an attempt to save everybody, and maybe themselves, they blow up the whole fucking train and basically kill everybody. And which is what the
scientists did to start the entire movie. Because they were trying to solve a problem, they overdid it, and they wound up killing everybody.
Right, exactly. And I feel like I don't know if that's the point of this, or
I think.
Then those the two kids get off, and you're like, oh well, somebody survived, but is that a good thing or not? I mean, is that what I struggled with and what I read a little bit about online, what other people's thoughts were? What it was. Is this a hopeful ending that, okay, well, these two people survived. We don't know if anybody else survived. We didn't see another survivor in the whole thing. I mean, it's possible, maybe even likely, that somebody else survived. But then what would that look like? Would they be benevolent and work together, or would they, And then there are these really young kids. How are they? How are they going to repopulate the Earth? They got to, at the very least, they have to wait, and it's only two people. This is not good. This is not good at all. And they don't know. They don't know how to find food.
Wow, the epilogue to this movie by Gabe is heavy.
And then they see. Then on top of that, they see a polar bear. Okay, on one hand, yes, exactly. Like, exactly. I'm like, okay. It's great that animals are coming back, but holy shit, it's a polar bear.
Whole train car of turkey and meat they can go salvage.
Yeah, the polar bear's like,
really?
Shit, they have DoorDash here.
Yeah, no, I actually spent a short amount of time thinking, like, what if I was in that crash and I survived it? What would I do? Well, at first I would pillage the train as best I could. I would go through the wreckage and see what I could find. You know, but that's going to last how long? It might be, you know, you might have frozen chicken, but then you got to learn how to cook it or whatever, you know. And it's like, are these kids have never, all they ever have eaten are those protein blocks. They don't know what to do with food. And I was like, when it got to the end, I was like, whoa, I don't know how I feel about this. But maybe other people, you know, I think other people have different interpretations of it, and maybe it's a reflection of their psyches and their personalities. Mine apparently is pretty negative, but you know, it's like, I don't know. What did you guys think of the ending? I thought it was pretty bleak.
Thanks for
I
bringing
didn't think it was
down.
I didn't think it was possible to overthink a Bong Joon-ho film, but congratulations.
What do you mean? Isn't that his thing? Isn't he supposed to make thinkers?
Yeah, you are, and
Yeah.
you went above and beyond.
Yeah.
So
My first order of business.
It's open to interpretation.
My first order of business is kill the polar bear, then start drilling for oil so I can start the warming back up.
Right.
And then worry about
Start
the chicken.
producing greenhouse gases as soon as possible.
Yes, those three.
Yeah.
The idea that you're going to kill a polar bear is pretty funny. They are one of the world's best ambush predators.
They are.
It is known that if you see a polar bear, it's already too late for you. You're not getting away from them. They will just hunt you and kill you. So yeah, I think about 5 minutes after this movie ends, it's Grizzly Man. And then that's just the way.
The one they see is just the lure, because then they come and they attack you, not from the front, but from the sides.
Clever girl.
Right.
Yes.
Like velociraptors. Yeah.
Clever girl.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. He could have put any animal in that scene.
Yes.
You know, he could have seen an elk or a deer or something. The fact that it's a polar bear, I really do think, Gabe, I don't think you're wrong. I think it is a sad ending. That the victory is they got off the train. Yay! Yeah. But they're still fucked.
Right.
Right. Well, and I think I find that I don't know what the decision making was to choose the polar bear, but I also think it's kind of I don't think ironic is the right word. I'm trying to think of a French or Latin word for it.
Little je ne sais quoi.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's a Latin term.
But I feel like it's a little bit of like we're destroying the polar bear's habitat and killing polar bears, and I just think it would be like an ironic twist at the end that the polar bears actually end up being kind of the top of the food chain to a certain degree. So, but it also implies. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it also implies there's other food. There's something. The polar bear is there because it's eating something.
Right.
It implies there are some other animals that have survived.
And he talks about passing by that plane and seeing that the world is warming.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's a good thing. But if it was as catastrophic as we thought, most things should be wiped out. I guess you would think of it kind of like the dinosaur extinction, where mammals, survive and other little things survive. But yeah, they're definitely going to get eaten really fast by that polar bear. It even takes the time to turn and notice them. Like they don't just see it go over a ridge; it looks at them. So
the only thing it didn't do was lick its lips.
Hey, dinner!
Yeah, they're for sure dead.
Rub his paws together in the front. Yeah.
In one cut scene, the polar bear actually stood up and started rubbing its nipples like the coach in Waterboy. He was like.
If Bong Joon-ho was a lesser filmmaker, I would say, he picked the polar bear because it's white and it makes for that very dark versus white contrast between inside the train and outside the train, and that's why he chose the polar bear. But he is such a meticulous and detail oriented director. I got to assume that they're about to be eaten. I mean, that's just I mean,
it just feels impossible that they are going to survive this.
Out of the frying pan into the fryer.
like 2 years after he makes this, he's reading a book about polar bears with this kid and goes, "Oh shit, these guys! I probably shouldn't have used a polar bear."
Oh no, I made a big mistake.
And
I've
then
seen
we
too
get the
many
director's
Coca-Cola
cut
commercials.
that has penguins in it.
Yeah, penguins. Penguins would have been good.
All right. Is everyone done with overall?
Yes, the polar bear is here. We are almost
All right.
done.
Let's put it to a vote. Andrew.
I'm gonna split myself tonight, so I'm gonna go with the Bullet Train.
Okay. Gabe.
It wasn't my plan. It's just happening this way. I'm going to go with Bullet Train, too. I think that's all 4 votes for Bullet Train for
Yeah,
me.
it is. Kyle.
I'm going to switch it up here, and I'm going to go for Snowpiercer.
Okay. And Tom.
All right, so this is the first time in 149 episodes I've ever done this. But I voted, I think Snowpiercer has better directing and acting and writing, but I think Bullet Train is the best movie.
Wow.
I think when you put it all together, Bullet Train is just a better movie than Snowpiercer. I can't explain it, but I give my vote to Bullet Train.
All right.
Can I change my vote now?
No. They're locked in. No hanging chads.
Oh, shit, I went last. That makes me the shoe.
Ryan Reynolds.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Ryan,
it is.
Ryan Reynolds' extremely short cameo as Carver was filmed remotely while he was on the set of his Netflix film, The Atom Project. Producer Kelly McCormick humorously remarked that it was, quote, payback for Brad Pitt being in Deadpool 2 for 2 seconds, end quote. Mm-hmm. And this one is for our very own Tommy Boyle. Snowpiercer is the second movie featuring Chris Evans, which featured Earth frozen in another ice age. After what film, Tom?
Sunshine.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
It's a great movie, man.
Okay, I am going to attempt to do math, and you guys are going to tell us what we should be watching. We'll start with Gabe.
Oh boy, I honestly don't remember if this has been recommended yet, but it, in some ways, it has the feel of Bullet Train to me. We just recently finally saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it was just crazy ass fun. It was just so, I feel like I'm getting a little old. I am old. I'm getting old, and sometimes this stuff happens too fast for me, and I'm like, what just happened? What is going on? And that's how I felt through a lot of Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I think that was the point. And it was really actually very enjoyable. Just so many weird, crazy, creative ideas. The whole fight scene with the fanny pack was just incredible. It just was so much fun. And the hot dog fingers, and we learned to do things with our toes and wiping her mouth with her toes. I'm like, oh my God, that is so weird but so funny all at once. And then at the same time, it's very heartfelt and touching. I think it's a great film. I don't remember if we had anybody recommended that previously?
I think
Kyle,
they have. I think they have.
I don't think so. I
Really?
am not seeing anybody else.
I should have done my research, but I don't get a chance to watch as many movies as I'd like. So when I see a good one, I need to remember it for a recommendation. And that was a
not
fun
on the
one.
list.
Really?
Anybody else recommending it? No.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd recommend it for sure. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Kyle.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a train movie that I saw last year around Halloween. They were doing these things at I think it was AMC theaters, where you would go buy a ticket for a horror movie and you didn't know which one you were going to see. It reminded me of Snowpiercer a bit, in that it uses its atmosphere to a huge advantage, and that is Train to Busan. So that is a cool action movie. It follows the sort of, we have to march through cars to get to places. There's a lot of danger. There's a lot of emotion. There's very high stakes. It is a zombie film, if you're not aware. So if you're not into that, that's cool. But yeah, I'm going to go with Train to Busan.
Okay. Who the hell's next? I lost my list. Oh my God, Tom.
So you like big train scenes and action sequences and stuff? Then you should go to the movie theater and check out Mission Impossible 7 or Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's really great. The train scene is on par with action in these two. They have absolutely so much fun riding the rails, and that's just half the movie. There is one scene in an alley, a fight scene in an alley that is probably 2.5 feet wide, that if you're a filmmaker, it will just blow your mind. I don't know how the hell they shot it. If I had been on the cinematographer, I would have been like, fuck this, I'm not shooting it. There's no way to shoot this. It's incredible. It's so much fun. It truly is it feels impossible. It lives up to its title. So
Wow.
Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning. Check it out.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Andrew?
I'm not going to recommend a train movie, but I'm going to recommend an apocalyptic movie. This was from back in 2009, and it's actually a animated film that I don't know is probably lower on people's radar, or not a lot of people probably seen it. Shane Acker was the director. Elijah Wood, Jennifer Connelly, Crispin Glover are all voices. And that is the movie 9. And it's basically about this ragdoll that wakes up and all of humanity is gone and finds out that he potentially could be holding the key to humanity's salvation. So it's actually a pretty good film, and I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't had a chance to see 9, I recommend it highly.
All right.
That is a great pick.
It
My
is.
kids absolutely love that movie, and it's dark. It's dark as shit, and they love it.
Yeah. I've not known anyone else every single time I talk about it, be like, what movie?
Oh yeah.
But also,
Yeah,
all
they
of
always
Tom's
ask us-
kids are
I did
emo.
too.
Coheed and Cambria's Welcome Home. Love
Yes, Coheed and Cambria is the musical in it.
Yeah, geez, I haven't heard those guys in a long time.
All right. Well, my recommendation is a train movie, and it's from 2010. It is directed by one of my favorite directors, Tony Scott, and it stars Gabe's favorite actor, Denzel Washington. It has Chris Pine and Rosario Dawson, and it is, I mean, it's a lot of over-the-top train action, but, I mean, like what we've been talking about. My favorite part about watching this is figuring out how they shot all of this, and just the time that they took to set up camera rigs on this giant train and make sure everything's moving, and they have helicopters flying everywhere. It's insane. But the movie is called Unstoppable. So you get to watch The Equalizer and Captain Kirk try and stop a train.
And it's based on a true story.
It is based on a true story, and I'm guessing they took some dramatic license. But
No.
yes.
No.
Just a smidge.
No.
Just a little bit.
Denzel Washington really did that.
No, it's probably exact.
No, see, I heard Chris Pine actually did that. Denzel wasn't there.
Oh. That happens.
That seems like some Gabe propaganda right there.
You know what? That's who I heard it from.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I've been lied
yeah,
to.
the real story. That's the real.
No, he's not even from Washington. When I found that out.
Not even the district or the state. Neither one.
Yeah.
His son's pretty freaking awesome in Tenet, though. I gotta tell you, he's
Agreed.
pretty good.
Don't get
He's
Gabe
incredible.
and I started on Tenet now.
Yeah, let's not.
I do.
Tom, I
I,
gotcha. You and I.
I like him in that. I don't have any trouble.
Yeah.
I don't have any
do-
trouble with the
I do
acting.
like him that too.
All right, let's poke the monkey, find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner, by decision is Bullet Train!
Okay, if Tom wouldn't have changed his vote, it would have been a tie. But Bullet Train wins.
You know what? I didn't change my vote though.
Oh, I'm sorry, not change your vote,
Train,
but would have gone the way he was going for. Sorry, I misspoke.
Nope.
But would have been.
I came into this planning on voting that way because it made the most sense to me. So
right. So yeah.
What was the final score?
9-7.
9-7.
Oh my god.
All right.
That's awesome.
Two really good movies. Like this was a really good matchup. I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
About as good as it gets for train movies.
That's right.
Whoop woo!
Watch 310 to Yuma. That's a pretty good one too.
Somewhat sorry. For those of you that don't know, also, if you're just listening to the podcast, we have also started streaming live on Twitch when we do the recordings. And that's usually the first or second Wednesday of every month. But someone just commented, rigged voting booths protest.
What?
Oh, that's great. I love it.
I'm going to get Carrie Lake on the phone.
The monkey does all the math. The monkey does all the math.
We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. In September, we throw two fantastical works of fiction into the ring as The Secret Life of Walter Mitty takes on Stranger Than Fiction.
Oh, it's going to be so good!
That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be so good!
For Tom, Kyle, Gabe, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening and go catch a flick.
Is there a porn parody, The Secret Life of Walter Titty?
There is now.
Or Stranger Than Diction.
We're putting that.
Stranger Than Diction? Yes, come on. Let's watch the porn parody versions of these.
Hornier than fiction.
Yeah.
Hornier than fiction.
Trains to this. That I'll tell you what.
Train, hole piercer. We could do any of these.
I think this is like, I really think you're not living up to your potential. I think you need to be doing this for a living, coming up with these porn parody names.
Thank you.
I think you've got an opportunity there. That's really your calling, I think.
I used to be so bored at night. We would go, me and a couple of friends would go to Walmart, and we would walk around and we would come up with porn parody titles for the DVDs they have on sale. That literally is what we did. My favorite one of all time is Owen Wilson's Behind Enemy Lines. I came up with Inside Enemy Behinds, which I think is the best one I've ever come up with.
I like it. Yep.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.